Today we have a special story that reveals that behind ordinary appearance and seemingly inconspicuous personalities, truly amazing people can hide. Do you ever get the feeling that you see a person every day, as if only briefly, and do not think that he has lived a whole life with unexpected twists and turns? That's about how we see our current hero, Samuel Sam Carter. Sam is an ordinary, at first glance, security guard of a large office center. No one thinks deeply about him. His presence has become so familiar that it seems as if he has always been a part of the building. A tall, slightly stooped middle-aged man with piercing eyes and a professional bearing that can only be noticed on closer inspection. Every day, he sits at his post, carefully watching the camera monitors and noticing what others are missing. But what makes it so special? And why does it seem that this calm security guard has hidden talents? Every morning, Sam is one of the first to arrive at work, an hour before the shift starts, so that he can explore the area and conduct his own personal checks. Normal security guards wouldn't bother with such details, but for Sam, it's already a familiar ritual. Outwardly, he always seems calm and collected, as if he knows something that others don't. When something happens, no matter if a package goes missing or someone accidentally leaves the door unlocked, Sam is always the first to notice and quickly solves the problem. He doesn't make a big problem out of it and doesn't seek recognition. For him, it's just part of his job. It's interesting how Sam builds relationships with others. He is not very sociable, but his colleagues are attracted to him. One of them says that he once saw Sam grab a heavy object in one short movement, which almost fell to the floor. Others recall how he seemingly accidentally prevented a conflict at the entrance, drawing attention to gestures and facial expressions that an ordinary person would not have noticed. There's more to these little cases than just intuition, but Sam never talks about it. For most colleagues, he remains a silent professional who always does his job and does not interfere in gossip and office intrigues. People come and go, but Sam remains calm, composed, and seemingly oblivious to the surrounding bustle. However, it is this indifference that draws attention to him, makes you wonder what is hidden behind this calmness. Some even start joking that Sam is our office SWAT or super spy, and even though he laughs it off, sometimes he flashes a smile on his face, as if he knows something that no one else knows. But no matter how much he avoids questions, the atmosphere around him is steeped in mystery. From time to time, someone accidentally notices details that do not correspond to his position, an extraordinary observation, a desire to follow every step of visitors, and small, at first glance, insignificant actions that create an aura of mystery around him. Is it important? And why would someone like him choose this particular job? One can only guess. But very soon, this mystery will start to be revealed little by little. Sam Carter, an unassuming office center security guard, evokes mixed feelings among colleagues. At first glance, he is nothing remarkable, just a security guard, quiet and collected, who always comes to work first and leaves last. The staff is used to seeing him at his post. He fits so perfectly into the work routine that it seems as if he has always been a part of this building. But there is something in his behavior that eventually began to attract the attention of others, arousing their involuntary interest. Every morning, Sam starts his day by going around the grounds, carefully checking doors, windows, and security cameras, as if his life depends on it. The other guards on duty usually don't think much of it, thinking that he's just taking his duties too seriously. For Sam, it's more than just work. There's an unusual confidence and alertness in his movements, as if he's long been used to noticing the smallest details that escape the attention of others. One morning, when the center was just starting to come to life, a disgruntled customer came to the building. He demanded a meeting with the management, without having an appointment, and loudly expressed his indignation. The other guards tried to calm the man down, but it only turned him on even more. The situation began to spiral out of control, and at that moment Sam stepped in. As he approached the man, he looked at him calmly but firmly without saying a word, and the man froze for a moment. In Sam's eyes, there was that unwavering confidence that confuses and commands respect. Sam briefly explained how to solve the problem, and the man, to the surprise of the guards, suddenly agreed and calmed down. My colleagues looked at each other in disbelief, and one of them jokingly said, "Sam, are you a hypnotist?" No one suspected that such behavior was an echo of his past, of who he used to be. Who do you think is a person who can diffuse the situation with one glance? Ex-detective, ex-military, maybe? Another incident occurred on one of the usual business days. Sam noticed a car that had been parked outside the building for a long time, and there were people inside who were just looking at the office. They seemed to be ordinary customers, but something about their demeanor made Sam wary. He immediately called the control room and asked his colleagues to pass the description of the car and license plates to the entrance. Later it turned out that these people were connected with questionable activities, and they were wanted by the police. Such cases have become an occasion for conversations among employees. Someone tried to joke that Sam was a former Special Forces soldier or detective, and someone, on the contrary, sincerely wondered who he could have been before. Sam was aware of these speculations, but he never commented on them, only modestly continued his work. And yet, every day he became a more mysterious figure to his colleagues. As the months passed, Sam's reputation as a reliable and insightful security guard was solidified. People turned to him more and more often for advice, and each time his answers were so accurate that it was as if he had a whole life behind him, connected with solving the most complicated situations. No one knew where he got his knowledge from, but everyone noticed that Sam wasn't just an ordinary security guard. His advice was always wise and thoughtful, as if he had experienced similar situations in the past. No one could understand how he knew all these things, but it made people listen to him even more. More and more colleagues, seeing his professionalism and confidence, began to turn to him for advice or help in difficult situations. And each time, Sam surprised them with accurate and well-founded recommendations. He seemed to see the situation in advance, as if he had unique skills that were not found in ordinary guards. Once in the office there was an emergency. On the second floor, the security system suddenly turned off. The cameras stopped working and the door locks were locked. The guards were confused and didn't know what to do. One of the guards, who hadn't taken Sam seriously before, suddenly started walking towards him, as if sensing that Sam might find a solution. Sam looked carefully at the monitors, assessed the situation, and immediately gave clear instructions on how to temporarily work around the problem. His knowledge and calmness surprised everyone again. Someone asked, "Sam, how do you know that?" But he just smiled and said nothing. How much more is hidden behind this outward simplicity? Colleagues wondered. Maybe Sam really did have a dangerous past that he's now hiding. Sam continued to perform his duties without betraying his true identity. However, his colleagues increasingly noticed that his skills, demeanor, and even posture spoke of something more than just working as a security guard. His ability to see through people and instantly analyze the situation was becoming increasingly apparent. Few people suspected that Sam had an experience that not everyone can cope with. One of the most striking episodes occurred during the presentation of a major project. Important customers were expected to arrive at the building, and security officials stepped up controls, as the event was associated with a company that attracted the attention of competitors. But the office had been tense since morning. Sam didn't show it, but he was watching the scene carefully, clearly expecting something out of the ordinary. As soon as the presentation started, a man in a business suit who seemed to know exactly where he was going walked up to the main entrance. He produced the pass, but with such confidence that Sam's colleagues decided not to check it too carefully. However, Sam noticed how the man reacted to the sight of the guard, glancing too closely in his direction for a second, as if checking to see if Sam recognized him. A normal person wouldn't have noticed, but to Sam, it was a signal. As the man walked inside, Sam seemingly accidentally followed him, keeping his distance. His manner and confidence marked him as a professional, but not a security guard. Sam caught the way the guest paused periodically, looking around, as if to orient himself in space and take a closer look at the office. Sam was even more wary, because the stranger's behavior clearly did not correspond to the behavior of an ordinary customer. Before anyone could notice the suspicious activity, Sam caught up with the stranger and spoke to him. "Excuse me, sir, is there anything I can do for you?" "What is it?" he asked calmly, as if he just wanted to help him find the right office. But that wasn't what he was looking at. He was watching the man's reaction closely, and when he saw that the man was looking away nervously, he realized that he wasn't mistaken in his suspicions. "No, thank you, I'll handle it myself," the man replied, trying to remain calm. But it was obvious that meeting Sam had confused him. Sam decided not to let go of the situation. He escorted him to the conference room, offered to wait here until the right employee arrived, and quietly ordered his colleagues to increase control of the corridors next to the hall. It turned out that the stranger really acted on the instructions of the company's competitors. This episode was the subject of heated discussion among colleagues. They couldn't understand how Sam had so accurately and quickly assessed the situation. His colleagues were once again surprised by his insight, and one of them jokingly said, "Sam, who are you really? Where did you get such skills from?" Sam just laughed it off, always avoiding a direct answer. Rumors about the mysterious guard began to acquire new details. Someone said that Sam has combat experience, someone suggested that he is hiding under a false name. At this point, viewers might wonder, what would you do if you were Sam's colleagues? Would you be able to work comfortably next to someone who seems to know something you can't? Sam kept a low profile, trying not to draw attention to himself, but his reputation was becoming more and more legendary among the employees. He was credited with various achievements and stories, from working in the special services to serving in elite military units. He never confirmed or denied these rumors, allowing them to take on a life of their own. But each new day at work brought new cases where his extraordinary skills proved useful. One evening, when most of the staff had left the office, Sam again felt that inexplicable tension that he had learned to recognize over the years. He walked around the building, checking all the locks and doors, and noticed that one of the security cameras at the back entrance was blinking oddly. Normally, such things could only mean a minor malfunction, but something told him that this wasn't a simple case. Sam decided to check it out for himself. As he approached the back entrance, he noticed a shadow that flickered near the building. His intuition was as accurate as ever. Carefully assessing the situation, he saw an unknown person standing near the door, clearly trying to hide from the camera. Sam watched him for a few seconds without giving away his presence, and then took a few steps forward, letting the stranger see him. The man seemed confused for a moment, but quickly regained his composure and tried to leave. Sam, still calm, spoke softly but confidently, "A little late for a visit, isn't it?" There was something in his voice that made the stranger pause. He looked at Sam and realized that his attempt to sneak into the building had failed, so he turned and started to walk away. Sam watched his every move without losing control of the situation. The stranger was leaving, but he left behind a sense of unresolved threat. The next day, Sam reported the incident to management and provided them with a detailed report. Its clarity and attention to detail surprised even senior security personnel, who are used to relying on technology rather than intuition and experience. These cases increasingly fueled the interest of colleagues in his personality. It seemed that each incident only brought Sam's mystery closer to being solved. As time passed, Sam's colleagues became more and more accustomed to his unusual abilities. By that time, he had already gained respect among the staff, and although they didn't understand the story behind his taciturn appearance, everyone knew that if something went wrong, Sam would definitely help them figure it out. But one incident turned everything upside down. It was a normal evening, and there was no sign of trouble, but a group of unknown men showed up at the office. They looked quite respectable, were dressed in business suits and clearly intended to give the impression of an official visit. No one would have thought that they could be dangerous. However, to Sam, who was watching closely, their behavior was alarming. He saw one of the men standing off to the side glance up at the building as if assessing its layout, and another glance around with obvious caution to see if there were any prying eyes nearby. Sam had already learned to see such details and realized that these were not ordinary visitors. He paused, mentally analyzing what was going on, and then made a quick call to his security colleagues, telling them to increase their surveillance of this visit. After a few minutes, everything in the building changed. The doors were locked, the alarm system was broken, and the building seemed to fall under an invisible dome. The same men were now moving around the floors, opening offices and checking rooms, clearly looking for something. When Sam realized this, his heart started beating faster, but his face remained completely calm. He went to the control room, where the security system was controlled, and assessed the situation. By this point, colleagues had already begun to panic, some did not even know what to do, and some tried to contact the police. But Sam took control of everything. He gave out clear and calm instructions with the coolness that only people with great experience have. Go out of the buildings floor by floor. Tell everyone to gather at the lower level. His voice was so confident that no one even thought to ask questions. Everyone followed his commands without question. Sam single-handedly blocked several passageways, knowing that this would allow time for the evacuation of employees. And then, without waiting for reinforcements, he went straight to those men. He knew that he didn't have a weapon, but he also knew that his experience would help in such a situation more than any means of defense. When he entered the conference room, the strangers who hadn't expected to meet anyone there became wary. Sam just looked at them, and there was silence. As the seconds ticked by, the tension grew. Suddenly, one of the men chuckled, saying, "Who are you to stop us? Get out if you don't want any trouble." To this Sam calmly replied, "You'll be in trouble if you don't leave this building immediately." There was no threat in his voice, but the confidence in his words was so strong that the men froze, not knowing how to react to his coolness. One of them took a step forward, but Sam didn't flinch and pointed him out with clenched fingers. "You have exactly 10 seconds to exit." His words were so imperious that the men, not expecting such a rebuff, began to retreat. They turned around and headed for the exit, leaving only confused looks and incomprehension in their wake. When it was over, Sam was approached by his colleagues. They were completely shocked by his behavior. One of them couldn't stand it and asked, "Sam, tell me honestly, who are you? We don't know you at all." Sam paused for a moment, as if debating whether to tell the truth. Then, with a slight chuckle, he said, "I was once involved in security at a higher level." Every day, Sam stayed true to his habits. He was the first to arrive at the office and the last to leave. Colleagues who were used to his presence noticed that Sam always remained calm and confident, even in the most unpredictable situations. Over time, this calmness began to be transmitted to them. As soon as Sam was around, any incident that seemed critical seemed to resolve itself. There were days when the tension in the building was in the air, and it was at such times that Sam was especially attentive. One day, his security colleague, a young guy named Ted, got into an awkward situation. An irritated visitor came to him, who began to demand a pass to the management without prior approval. Ted tried to deal with the situation, but clearly didn't know what to do. He tried to calm the man down, but his inexperience and uncertainty only made the situation worse. Sam, who was watching, took a step forward and, remaining completely calm, approached the man. With a small but confident smile, he said, "Let's figure out how to help you." His tone left no room for argument, and the man who had been demanding a pass a moment ago suddenly relented and accepted the offer to wait. Ted, taken aback by how quickly Sam was able to defuse the situation, asked, "Sam, have you ever been trained to work with such complex visitors?" But Sam just shrugged. Sometimes the main thing is calmness. It is passed on to others. In those moments, Sam seemed to be an invisible barrier between tension and the world, and his colleagues unwittingly began to see him as more than just a security guard. The next day, there was a power outage in the office. In the dark, the staff became nervous, and the situation gradually escalated. The building remained without power for several minutes, and people on the floors panicked. At that moment, Sam, as if he knew exactly what to do, started giving instructions to the guards. He advised all employees to stay put until the problem is resolved. His voice was confident and calm, as if he'd been in similar circumstances many times before. One of the employees who happened to be next to Sam remarked, "You always seem to know exactly what to do. Have you been in worse situations?" Sam just laughed softly, not giving a direct answer, but the look in his eyes betrayed that somewhere deep inside he really knew the answers to these questions. Rumors about him were growing, and he had already gained a reputation among employees as a person to turn to in any situation. Sam was becoming more and more a part of the office center's life, and more colleagues came to him for advice, even if it wasn't related to security. His experience and confidence inspired confidence, and not only the security guards, but also the company's employees began to perceive him as a kind of wise mentor who can always be turned to in a difficult moment. One evening, after work ended, Sam was approached by a human resources manager named Emily. She was working late, preparing paperwork for an important meeting, when she happened to spot Sam in the hallway. Emily had long wanted to thank him for his help, because more than once Sam had calmed her down in situations where she couldn't make a decision because of stress. Finally collecting her thoughts, she walked up to him and said, "Sam, to be honest, I can't imagine this office without you. I think you know everyone here." Sam smiled and said, "Knowing people is more important than just being around them. Sometimes it's enough just to look closely and understand what everyone needs." Emily saw something deep and mysterious in his eyes, as if there was a whole story behind that simple phrase, but she didn't dare ask any more questions. The next day, Sam showed off his unique skills again. In the morning, an unknown car drove up to the office, from which several people in the form of couriers got out. They presented documents and asked for permission to access the company's floors to deliver equipment. Security, seeing the official papers, was ready to let them pass, but Sam checked the documents and noticed something strange. The company seal on the documents did not look as usual. The nuance was barely noticeable, but Sam noticed it immediately. Without giving any sign, he informed his colleagues that an additional check was required, and suggested that the couriers wait. A few minutes later, it turned out that the seals and signatures were indeed forged, and these people tried to enter the office with other intentions. Thanks to Sam, the situation was averted, and his superiors appreciated his vigilance. The rumors among the employees continued to multiply, and now there was no doubt that this was a person with a unique experience and past that he did not want to talk about. Everything went on in the office that day, until something happened that turned the life of the entire building upside down. Sam was just finishing his rounds when 3 black SUVs pulled up to the main entrance. Men in business suits got out, moving smoothly and quickly, as if following a pre-planned plan. They passed through the security post with their identification papers, and everything seemed to be in order, but Sam sensed that there was something behind it. He had more than just suspicions. His intuition, honed by years in the profession, told him that these were not ordinary guests. He noticed how these people looked at each other, how one of them went not in the direction of the conference room, but to the technical rooms where the company's servers were stored. Realizing that this was no ordinary visit, Sam decided to act. The situation was complicated by the fact that the central security system suddenly failed. Cameras on some floors were turned off, and access to the alarm system was blocked. Time passed, and every minute could lead to irreparable consequences. Sam gathered all the guards in the control room and calmly issued clear instructions, directing them to protect key points in the building. He contacted the building's general manager, who was at a loss to understand what was going on. Sam explained the situation briefly, leaving the briefing for the staff, and quickly made the decision to go to the server room himself. When he entered it, it was immediately apparent to him that one of the men was standing there, his eyes feverishly sparkling, deep in search. Sam didn't wait for him to notice him, but stepped forward and said confidently, "Finish it, you won't make it in time." His voice was calm but cold, and it was enough to make the man turn around and freeze. This wasn't a security guard, but a man whose experience and self-confidence were so powerful that anyone would feel threatened. At that moment, the other men from the group entered the room. One of them, looking at Sam, grinned and said, "Do you think you're going to stop us? Who are you to try to interfere with us?" Sam just stared at him, narrowing his eyes a little. His calmness and composure clearly embarrassed the intruders. "I'm someone who's seen situations like this before," he said, "and believe me, you have a chance to leave right now without making things worse." His words sounded so confident that one of the men hesitated for a moment, but then decided to try his luck and moved in his direction. Sam didn't bat an eye, but caught his arm and held it fast. The other 2 instantly realized that this wasn't just a security guard standing in front of them. Behind his reticence was a strength and skill that was not often seen in people in his position. The day after the incident, the office center was full of conversations. Employees shared their impressions with each other, each taking a different view of what had happened. For some, Sam became a hero, for others a mysterious figure, full of mysteries and untold stories. People came up to him, thanking him for averting the threat, and there was a new respect in every look. Sam was no longer just a security guard, but a symbol of calm and confidence for everyone who worked in the building. Employees began to notice that his presence really makes the office environment safer. Even the most junior colleagues who had previously been able to ignore him, now did not miss the opportunity to say hello or exchange a few words. His authority was growing, and although he still didn't want to be the center of attention, his appearance seemed to radiate strength and confidence that calmed people down. When meeting colleagues, Sam always remained reserved and taciturn. One of the employees, a junior manager named Alex, once asked him during a break, "Sam, it bothers me to think that there is someone working next to us who clearly knows more than all of us put together. Why did you choose to live like this, leaving behind?" "Well, whatever it was?" Sam smiled, as he always did, with a slight shrug. "Sometimes," he said, "people need a place where they can just live in peace and quiet without thinking about the past." There was no regret in his words, but there was a depth to them that made Alex think. With each passing day, the staff asked Sam fewer questions about his past. They realized that it was part of his personal choice to live in the present without revealing the secrets of the past. Sam stayed in the office and continued to perform his duties as if nothing had happened. Weeks passed, and the incident with the uninvited guests gradually began to turn into an office legend. Sam was still the first to arrive at work, checking the entire building with his usual thoroughness, and the last to leave. Now his silence and restraint became not just familiar to his colleagues, but took on a symbolic meaning. Employees stopped seeing him as just a security guard. He became something more, a kind of guardian of the building and inner peace. When someone had a difficult moment, many people came to him to hear advice or just to feel the confidence that came from him. Sam didn't say no to anyone, but he was just as reserved, not revealing the details of his past life. Eventually, his colleagues realized that maybe Sam's past wasn't so important, because his true value lay in who he was now.